120 meals for $30. That is not a typo. That is not clickbait. And no, I am not going to ask you to live on nothing but plain white rice for a month. What I am about to show you is a real grocery haul that I put together at a regular Walmart in the summer of 2026 with current prices, no coupons, no loyalty cards, no special discounts, and no tricks. Just smart shopping and a little bit of the kind of math they used to teach in home economics class, before they decided kids did not need to learn how to feed themselves anymore. And by the time we are done here today, you are going to have a complete grocery list, a breakdown of every single item and what it costs. And more importantly, you are going to understand exactly how to turn $30 worth of groceries into 120 filling, real meals that actually taste like food a human being would want to eat. Now I want you to think about something for a moment. When was the last time you walked through a grocery store and felt good about the prices you were seeing? Not okay, not manageable, actually good. For most of us, that moment was years ago, and it feels like it is getting further away every month. I was in my local store last week, and I watched a woman put back a carton of eggs because she could not justify the price on top of everything else in her cart. She was not being dramatic. She was doing math in her head the way millions of Americans do every single week. And that moment is exactly why I made this video. Before we get into the haul itself, I want to talk about why this matters right now, in 2026, more than it has in years. The USDA just released their updated food plan costs for this year, and according to their thrifty plan, a single adult should expect to spend somewhere around $260 a month on groceries. For a family of 4, that number pushes past $900, and that is the thrifty plan, the bare minimum the government thinks you need to get by. But I have been hearing from people all over this country who are telling me they cannot even hit that number. They are choosing between the electric bill and the grocery bill. They are skipping meals so their kids can eat. And I have talked to seniors on fixed incomes who are going to food banks for the first time in their lives because their Social Security check does not stretch the way it used to. So when I tell you that $30 can produce 120 meals, I am not playing a game. I am giving you a tool. And this tool could be the difference between eating and not eating for someone watching this right now. So let me walk you through exactly what I bought, item by item. And I'm going to give you the price of every single thing because transparency matters here. This is not one of those videos where someone waves a bag of groceries around and says, "Trust me, it was cheap." You are going to see the math first, the grains. This is your foundation. This is where your calories come from. And this is where your dollar stretches the farthest. I picked up a 25-pound bag of long grain white rice for $8.47. Now I know some of you just heard 25 pounds and thought that is way too much. But listen to me. 25 pounds of dry rice yields roughly 260 cups of cooked rice, at 1 cup per serving. That is 260 servings from a single bag. That alone would give you more than 100 meals, but we are not going to do that because we are not animals and we want variety. I also picked up a 2-pound bag of all-purpose flour for $1.28 and a package of corn tortillas, 30 count, for $2.18. That gives us bread options, from simple flatbreads and dumplings with the flour to wraps and quesadilla shells with the tortillas. Total for grains so far is $11.93. Next, the protein and fiber powerhouse that most people overlook. And I have been saying this for 30 years in my career, so I will say it again. Dried beans and lentils are the single most underrated food in the American pantry. I bought a 4-pound bag of pinto beans for $3.22. Dry pinto beans roughly triple when cooked, so 4 pounds of dry beans becomes about 12 pounds of cooked beans. That is approximately 48 half-cup servings of protein-rich, fiber-loaded food for $3. Then I grabbed a 1-pound bag of green lentils for $1.47. Lentils cook faster than beans. They do not need soaking, and 1 pound of dry lentils gives you about 7 cups cooked, which is 14 servings. I also picked up a 1-pound bag of yellow split peas for $1.42 because split pea soup is one of the most nutritious and filling meals you can make for almost nothing, and one bag makes a big pot that feeds 8. Total for the legume section is $6.11. Now let us talk about flavor, because this is where most extreme budget videos fall apart. They show you rice and beans, and then they wonder why people give up after 3 days. The secret to making cheap food taste like real food is aromatics, acid, and seasoning. I bought a 3-pound bag of yellow onions for $2.67, a head of garlic for 48 cents, a bag of carrots, 2 pounds, for $1.47, a bottle of vegetable oil, 48 ounces, for $3.24, because fat carries flavor, makes you feel full, and is absolutely necessary for cooking. Then, I picked up a packet of chicken bouillon cubes, the 25-count box, for $1.98. These are not health food, I know that, but on an emergency budget, they are an absolute game changer because they turn plain water into something that tastes like broth, and broth turns plain rice into something that tastes like a meal. I also grabbed a small container of chili powder for 88 cents and a container of garlic powder for 88 cents. 2 spices. That is all you need to transform everything on this list into multiple different flavor profiles. Total for the flavor section is $11.60. And here is where we stand so far. Grains, $11.93. Legumes, $6.11. Flavor and cooking essentials, $11.60. That puts us at $29.64. I have 36 cents left, and I already have enough raw ingredients to produce well over 100 meals. But let me show you exactly how. Let me break down the meal math for you, because this is the part that matters. I sat down at my kitchen table and I mapped out every combination of meals I can make from this haul. Not theoretical meals. Real meals that I have cooked, that I have eaten, and that I have served to my family. Meal number 1, rice and beans. 1 cup of cooked rice, half a cup of cooked pinto beans, seasoned with garlic powder, chili powder, and a bouillon cube dissolved in the cooking water. This is a complete protein when you combine the rice and beans together, which means it has all 9 essential amino acids your body needs. I can get at least 40 servings of this combination from what I bought. That is 40 meals right there, and each one costs about 10 cents. Meal number 2, lentil soup. 1 cup of dry lentils simmered with diced onion, diced carrots, garlic, a bouillon cube, and a splash of oil. This makes a thick, hearty soup, about 4 generous bowls from 1 cup of dry lentils. I have enough lentils for roughly 14 servings, and the carrots and onions stretch across multiple batches. Cost per serving, about 12 cents. Meal number 3, split pea soup. Same concept as the lentil soup, but with split peas instead, and the texture is creamier, more like a thick puree. 1 bag makes about 8 bowls. I can do at least 2 big batches if I manage my onions and carrots carefully. That gives me 16 servings, cost per serving, roughly 11 cents. Meal number 4, bean burritos using the corn tortillas. Take a tortilla, fill it with seasoned pinto beans, a little rice, and some diced onion. I have 30 tortillas, so that is 30 bean burritos right there, and each one costs around 14 cents when you add up the tortilla, the beans, the rice, and the seasonings. Meal number 5, fried rice. This is where the vegetable oil, the garlic, and the onions really shine. Cook your rice, let it cool, then fry it in a hot pan with oil, diced onion, diced carrots, and garlic. Add a little soy sauce if you have some in the pantry. But even without it, seasoned with bouillon and garlic powder, this is genuinely good food. I can make about 10 servings of this with my remaining rice and vegetables. Meal number 6, flatbread, 2 cups of flour, a little water, a pinch of salt, and a tablespoon of oil. That is all a flatbread is. You mix it, knead it for 2 minutes, flatten it, and cook it in a dry pan. 2 pounds of flour makes roughly 30 flatbreads, and you can eat them with beans, with lentil soup, or just dipped in broth. Each flatbread costs about 3 cents. Meal number 7, beans and rice bowls with different seasoning profiles. Here is where the magic happens with just 2 spices. Monday, you make your rice and beans with chili powder and a little garlic. That gives you a Tex-Mex flavor. Wednesday, you cook the same base, but you use just garlic and onion with a bouillon cube, and you get more of a savory, brothy bowl. Friday, you fry the onions until they are deep brown and caramelized. Add the beans on top, and suddenly it tastes almost like a whole different meal. Same ingredients, different technique, completely different experience on your tongue. This is how you avoid what I call budget fatigue, which is when people on a tight grocery budget give up because they feel like they are eating the same thing every day. You are not eating the same thing if you change the technique. A chef would call this mise en place, and mother sauce variations, I call it common sense. Meal number 8, refried beans. Take your cooked pinto beans, mash them in a pan with oil, onion, and garlic. Cook them until they are thick and creamy. Spread them on a tortilla or eat them with rice. This is a completely different texture and flavor from whole beans. Even though it is the same ingredient, I can get about 15 servings of refried beans from my supply. Now let me do the final count. 40 servings of rice and beans, 14 servings of lentil soup, 16 servings of split pea soup, 30 bean burritos, 10 servings of fried rice, up to 30 flatbreads, though I will count those as sides and not full meals. 15 servings of refried bean bowls. That already puts me at 125 individual servings, and I have not even counted the flatbreads as standalone meals. But let us be conservative and call it 120 meals. Because some days you are going to want a bigger portion, some of the carrots and onions need to be shared across recipes, and I always believe in being honest with the numbers rather than inflating them. 120 meals. $29.64. That works out to roughly 25 cents per meal. Let me say that one more time, 25 cents per meal. Now let me show you what a realistic day of eating looks like on this plan. Because I know numbers on a screen do not mean much until you can picture yourself sitting down to eat. Breakfast is a flatbread with refried beans spread on top like a thick paste sprinkled with a little garlic powder that is warm, filling, and it takes about 10 minutes to make from scratch. Lunch is a big bowl of lentil soup with diced carrots and onions, cooked in broth made from a bouillon cube. That pot of soup was simmering since this morning, and your whole kitchen smells incredible. Dinner is a plate of rice and beans, seasoned with chili powder and cooked in bean broth instead of water, served alongside 2 corn tortillas that you warmed in a dry pan until they got those little brown spots that make them taste like something from a real taqueria. That is 3 meals. That is a full day of eating, and the total cost for that entire day is about 75 cents. 3/4 of a single dollar. I have found loose change in my couch cushions that would cover 2 days of food on this plan. And I want to be clear about something. These are not tiny portions designed to look good on paper, but leave you hungry in real life. A cup of cooked rice is a generous serving. Half a cup of beans on top of that is substantial. A bowl of lentil soup with vegetables is the kind of meal that makes you want to sit on the couch and not move for 30 minutes. These are real portions that real people eat in countries all over the world every single day, and they are not going hungry. Now I want to address something because I know some of you are thinking it. Martha, this does not have any meat, this does not have any dairy, this does not have any fruit. And you are absolutely right. This is an emergency budget haul, not a lifestyle plan. If you have $50 instead of $30, I would add a dozen eggs for about $3, which gives you another 12 to 18 meals right there, and adds a high-quality protein source. I would add a bag of frozen mixed vegetables for about $2, which adds nutrients and variety. And I would add a can of tomato sauce for about 70 cents, which transforms your beans and rice into something that feels like a completely different cuisine. But the point of this video is to show you what is possible at the absolute floor, because I want you to know that even when things feel impossible, even when the budget is tighter than you ever thought it could be, You can still feed yourself and your family. You do not have to go hungry. You do not have to skip meals, and you do not have to feel ashamed about what is on your plate. Let me give you a few tips that will make this haul stretch even further. First, cook your beans from dry, always. Never buy canned beans on an emergency budget. 1 can of beans costs about $1 and gives you 3.5 servings. 1 pound of dry beans costs about 80 cents and gives you 12 servings. The math is not even close. Yes, dry beans take longer to cook. Soak them overnight, then simmer them for about 90 minutes. If you have a slow cooker, throw them in before you go to bed and they will be done by morning. Second, save every drop of liquid you cook your beans in. That bean broth, sometimes called pot liquor, is packed with nutrients and flavor. Use it to cook your rice instead of plain water. Your rice will taste 10 times better, and you are getting extra nutrition for $0 extra. Third, store your dry goods properly. Keep your rice, beans, lentils, and flour in airtight containers or sealed bags. Pests love these foods, and if you lose a bag of rice to weevils, you have lost 1/3 of your food budget. Fourth, learn to cook one new thing each week from these same ingredients. There are people in countries all around the world who eat rice and beans as their primary diet, and they have developed thousands of variations over hundreds of years: Mexican, Brazilian, Cajun, West African, Indian, Caribbean. The same 2 ingredients, prepared differently, can taste like 100 different meals if you are willing to learn. I also want to talk about storage because several of you watching this are not just buying for this week. You are building a pantry for emergencies, and the items I bought today are some of the best long-term storage foods you can get. White rice stored properly in a sealed container with an oxygen absorber can last 20 to 30 years. Dried beans can last 10 to 15 years, though their cooking time increases as they age, so they will need longer soaking after a few years. Split peas and lentils last 5 to 8 years in proper storage. Flour is the shortest shelf life item here at about 1 year in the pantry, but if you vacuum seal it and freeze it, you can extend that to 5 years. So if you buy this same haul 3 or 4 times over the next few months, you will have built an emergency food supply that could sustain one person for over a year for about $120 total. That is less than what most people spend on streaming services in the same time period, and here is something most people do not think about. If you have a family of 4 and you buy this same $30 haul once a month for 6 months, you will have spent $180 and you will have built a backup food supply that could feed your entire family for at least 2 to 3 weeks in an emergency. Whether that emergency is a job loss, a natural disaster, a medical crisis that drains your bank account, or just a really bad month where everything goes wrong at the same time. That buffer of food sitting in your pantry is not paranoia. It is insurance. And at $30 a month, it is the cheapest insurance you will ever buy. Let me also give you a quick warning about something I see people do all the time when they try extreme budget shopping, and it always backfires. Do not walk into the store without a list. I cannot stress this enough. When you are working with $30, every single item has to earn its place in your cart. There is no room for impulse buys, no room for snacks that catch your eye by the register, no room for that jar of salsa that looks good but costs $2.50 and only lasts 3 meals. $2.50 is almost 10% of your entire budget. On a normal grocery trip, sure, grab the salsa. On an emergency budget, that $2.50 is the difference between having enough beans for the whole month or running out on day 22. Write your list before you leave the house. Stick to it like your life depends on it, because in some cases, it does. And walk past everything that is not on that piece of paper. One more thing. If you are watching this and you are in a situation where even $30 feels like too much, I want you to know about a few resources that might help. Most communities have food banks and food pantries that are there for exactly this reason, and there is no shame in using them. The USDA SNAP program, food stamps, has income guidelines that cover more people than you might think, especially right now. And many grocery stores have clearance sections, usually in the bread aisle, the produce section, and the meat department, where you can find items marked down 50 to 75% because they are close to their sell-by date. Those items are perfectly safe to eat, and they can stretch your budget even further. I am not too proud to shop the clearance rack, and neither should you be. I know this video is not glamorous. There are no pretty meal prep containers with color-coordinated vegetables. There is no avocado toast, there is no sourdough anything. But I have been doing this work for over 3 decades. First, as a county extension agent, helping farming families get through bad harvests. And now here on this channel, helping all of you get through whatever you are going through. And what I have learned in all those years is that the most important thing about food is not how it looks on a plate. It is that it exists on the plate at all. A bowl of rice and beans cooked with care, seasoned well, and eaten at a table with people you love is not a failure. It is a victory. It means you figured it out. It means you did not give up. It means your pantry did its job. If this information helped you, I would appreciate it if you would share this video with someone who might need it. Maybe it is a friend going through a rough patch, a family member on a fixed income, or someone who just lost their job. There is no shame in needing to stretch $1, and there is no shame in learning how I have the complete grocery list with all the prices and meal combinations linked in the description below, along with my free printable pantry inventory checklist if you want to start tracking what you have on hand. And if you are new here, I put out videos every Tuesday and Friday on smart pantry building, food storage, and practical preparedness. No panic, no politics, just real solutions for real families. This is Martha, and I will see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Your pantry is your fortress. Let us keep building it.